Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Solving a case. Inheriting the police signal and joining the criminal investigation team at the beginning. The police uniform represents dignity, the shoulder badge represents faith, and the police horn represents a lifetime of glory. Each police call belongs to only one police officer, but only one situation can inherit the call and reshape glory. That is the child of a police officer who died on duty, voluntarily inheriting the spirit and glory of their parents. Ming travels through parallel worlds and unexpectedly becomes a police academy student. Inheriting his father's police signal, he decided to stand at the forefront of the fight against criminals and unexpectedly activated the divine-level police officer system. On his first mission, he encountered an online A.level fugitive who drove a Kawasaki heavy motorcycle and successfully arrested the criminal, causing a sensation throughout the city. On his second mission, he encountered a serial homicide case, where he simulated the criminal's psychology and captured the notorious suspect, which impressed everyone in the police station. That's it. The people of the whole city looked at the incredibly peaceful city and exclaimed in amazement. The reason why darkness cannot be seen is Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Inheriting the police signal and obtaining the system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Magic City. Huaihai Criminal Investigation Brigade. The police uniform represents dignity, the shoulder badge represents faith, and the police horn represents a lifetime of glory. Ming, are you sure you want to inherit your father's warning and fight again on the front line of the people with his former glory? A captain of a criminal police officer, about 40 years old, looked at the handsome young man in front of him and asked with utmost solemnity. Ming, with a relaxed waist and a straight back, took a deep breath and nodded firmly to answer. Lin, I'm sure I need to restart the alarm. This is not only my own idea, but also the last sentence left by the old man for me. Inherit the police signal and reshape glory. There was no hesitation in Ming's unwavering expression, and his eyes were fixed on Lynch. After a few seconds of silence, Lynch let out a slight sigh, his expression somewhat low and sad, and spoke slowly. I have a son like you. Old Su must be incredibly proud. When we went on missions together before, he always praised you. Say it. Lynch took out a box from the side and slowly pushed it towards Ming. Actually, from the moment you applied for the inheritance of the police number, the team was very pleased and felt that old Su was also considered a successor. The one stored in this box is your father's police number. From now on, you will inherit this warning and even more so, your past glory. Ming took the wooden box handed over and solemnly picked it up, then saluted the police. Thank you, Team Lin. I will definitely not disappoint everyone's expectations. Lynch nodded in satisfaction and waved his hand. Alright, go ahead and get busy. Go back and put up the police number. I'll have Xiao Yang take you to familiarize yourself later. Hearing the footsteps of Ming leaving, Lynch looked at the group photo of the three on the table and murmured to himself. Lao Su, you have a good son. Inside the criminal investigation office, Ming opened the exquisite wooden box, looked at the police number stored inside, took a deep breath, and attached it to his chest with utmost care. Just put it on. A special prompt sound rang out in the mind. Ding, the host has been detected to meet the requirements, and the system is currently being activated. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining the divine-level police system. They are sending a newbie gift package. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining skills such as insight know-how, criminal perception, and unarmed combat, which have increased their intelligence and physical attributes by 10 points. Ding, the personal attributes interface has been opened. Please check carefully, host. Hear system sounds in the brain. Ming couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, then showed a relieved smile. After traveling to this world for 5 years, the system finally received payment and turned out to be a god-level police system. However, in the 5 years without a system, Ming also did not suffer any injustice at all. There was an old man who seemed strict but extremely loved him. Just like the most common father character in the Dragon Kingdom who is not good at speaking. Although as a criminal police officer, I didn't have much time, I showed no less concern for Ming in secret. That's why. After the old man died on duty, only then did Ming decide to embark on his former path, become a criminal police officer, and inherit the police call filled with scars and glory. I didn't overthink anything. Ming immediately opened the personal attributes interface and carefully examined it. Divine level police system host. Ming age. 23 intelligence. 120, normal person is 100, physical fitness. 160, normal person is 100, justice value. 100 exclusive skills. Insight into autumn hair, criminal perception, and unarmed combat system all. Open note. Insight into the details can give the host excellent ability to distinguish objects and dynamic capture vision. Criminal perception can be vaguely detected as long as the host is within a certain range of the criminal. Hand-to-hand combat can make the host more adept at capturing criminals. Capturing criminals can earn justice points and exchange various items in the system mall. To prevent the host from being tempted by money, a little justice value can be exchanged for 100,000 dragon coins. Carefully browse through the personal attributes interface. Ming rubbed his fingers and a hint of excitement appeared on his face. From the current perspective, this system is really too powerful. And with the system, there is no need to worry about life in the future. As for the current only 100 justice values, it should be the reward I received from catching a campus thief with my roommates at the police academy a while ago. Ming then clicked on the system mall to see if he could exchange various items. Exchanging energy potions requires 100 points. Redemption of memory bread requires 100 points. Redemption of criminal profile requires 1000 points. Redemption psychological inference requires 1000 points. Slightly browse through the items in the system mall. Ming couldn't help but take a cold breath, somewhat amazed by the abundance of items in the mall. Anything related to the police. It's quite amazing that most of them can be exchanged in the mall. Just as Ming restrained his mind, the door to the office was pushed open, and a man in police uniform walked in confidently. Not bad, Ming. It looks a bit like this. Just received intelligence that someone is selling prohibited items on the nearby Huangshe Road commercial street. Let's go, let me show you how to open your eyes first. Chapter 2. Waiting for the rabbit, criminals appear. You are listening at novel full.audio. Seeing the man walking in. With a smile on his face, Ming covered the wooden box and carefully received the cabinet before asking. Yang, do you want to wear casual clothes or something? Yang Yun glanced at Ming's police uniform and the special warning on his chest, and looked at him with a complex expression. Of course, wear casual clothes. That group of people are very vigilant, so while they haven't woken up yet, they will just dress up and arrest them. I'll wait for you in the garage downstairs and take you on your first mission later. The words fell. Yang Yun hurriedly left the office. Ming also quickly took action and began to change into casual clothes, feeling even more excited in his heart. Arrest criminals. This is the most anticipated thing for all police academy students when they arrive at the real police station. 3 minutes later a plain-looking sedan departed from the back door of the Huaihai Criminal Investigation Brigade and headed towards the commercial street of Huangshe Road. On the car, Yang Yun glanced at Ming beside him, who was carefully studying the intelligence, and lightly tapped the steering wheel with his fingers, whispering softly. 8 years ago. The first time I went on a mission with your father, I was as nervous as you, afraid of missing any details. Speaking of which, I never expected that 8 years later, I would become your master again, and we would all be on missions together. Ming put down his phone. A faint smile appeared on his face, and then he joked. Brother Yang, then we have to discuss each other's opinions. Don't mess with your seniority. As soon as this sentence is spoken. Yang Yun was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing loudly. Xiao Ming, your humorous selves don't look like your old man. It's your first time on an arrest mission, and you can still joke like this. However, this mindset is quite good. After all, in our profession, there is already a lot of pressure. Without a good mindset, we may not be able to persist for long. In fact, the original intention of the team was to arrange a leisure time for you. After all, your old man has already had an accident, and we definitely cannot let you have an accident. Who would have thought that you were planning to inherit the police signal? It really caught my attention. We're almost at Huangshe Commercial Street. Xiao Ming, let me test you. Who is our goal this time? Hear this sentence. Ming's mind was constantly full of thoughts, and he slowly spoke up. 2 days ago, our criminal investigation team learned from informants' intelligence that criminals carrying prohibited items will appear this afternoon. At present, only the criminal's nickname is known as Dog Brother, and their real name is unknown. They are approximately 170 years tall, 30 years old, thin in stature, and there are no specific photos to show them. However, according to the provided intelligence, the criminal's little thumbs were chopped off a few years ago, which basically became the only characteristic. Moreover, criminals are highly likely to carry controlled knives with them. When unifying, they must be extra careful to avoid unnecessary harm. In my inference, the criminals are extremely cunning. Although they haven't woken up yet, it's not an exaggeration to describe them as cunning rabbits and 3 caves. Due to the dense and chaotic population in Huangshe Commercial Street, the arrest process must be completed quickly, accurately, and ruthlessly to avoid causing too much chaos. After Ming finished speaking these words, Yang Yun nodded extremely satisfied and lightly tapped the steering wheel again. It's really good. Being able to analyze the police situation so thoroughly is better than when I was a rookie, but it's not as good. There are still 3 minutes left until we reach Huangshe Commercial Street, and we will take separate actions then. In addition to us, several other personnel also participated in the arrest. But if you find out again, just contact me with a mini earphone. Don't take any action without authorization to avoid unnecessary danger. For this sentence, Ming nodded irrefutably. Due to the old man's relationship, every member of the Criminal Investigation Brigade took great care of Ming and felt a sense of guilt. If it weren't for Ming's strong demand, he will never be transferred to the Criminal Investigation Brigade to do the most dangerous thing. Huangshe Commercial Street. Personnel density and high mobility. A series of shops are located on both sides of the commercial street. Such a chaotic environment. It has already become a paradise for some unscrupulous people. Due to the undetermined appearance of the target. Therefore, only the police's keen sense of smell and observation can be used to make judgments, and a certain level of decisiveness is needed. After parking the car, Yang Yun and Ming got off the car with equipment, looked at each other, and walked in 2 directions. If 2 people walk side by side, the target is too obvious and there is a high possibility of waking up the criminals. So dividing actions is the best way. Walking on the road. Ming carefully observed the crowd around him, with a sharp gleam in his eyes. Such a noisy and dense crowd. Even experienced senior police officers are somewhat difficult to handle. And the time, location, and characters are all unclear, like a thick mist. However, under Ming's ability to discern everything, everyone's expressions and actions, as well as what they are currently doing, are vividly reflected in their eyes. The commercial street near the evening appears particularly bustling, with hurried commuters and energetic young ladies just starting their nightlife. Ming held a string of iron plate squid in his hand as a cover, carefully observing the possible suspicious individuals around him. Just as it passed by a convenience store, Ming's subconscious footsteps paused slightly, as if there was a premonition in his mind, and he turned his head to look into the convenience store. Criminal perception trigger. Just turned my head. Ming saw a man wearing a black duckbill cap, buying a pack of cigarettes at a convenience store. Under the ability to discern every detail, Ming saw with unparalleled clarity the man's right palm, which handed over the money, was already missing a little thumb. Chapter 3. Follow the criminals and arrest with hands. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ming's pupils contracted slightly. But no immediate action was taken. But combined with other intelligence, we began to carefully verify it. Height matches. The body shape matches. The characteristics match. Wearing a duckbill hat to conceal one's ears and eyes, with a clear expression on the face and a state of smoking prohibited substances, it completely matches the criminal elements in the intelligence. Think of it here. Ming no longer hesitated and walked aside as if nothing had happened, pretending to be picking fruits at the small stall. Take out the phone from your pocket and make a slow call, speaking softly. On the east gate of Huangshe Road, near the convenience store, there are some fruits that look good. Let's take a look together, right? Wait for you to see, I'll see how much I want to buy, and by the way, bring my duckbill cap. Say it. Ming hung up the phone directly. Pretending to pick fruits, but my spare time always lingers in the convenience store. West gate of Huangshe Road. Upon hearing Ming's words, Yang Yun's eyes flickered slightly and he didn't hesitate at all. He quickly pressed the earphone beside his ear and whispered softly. Attention everyone. The target appears, wearing a duckbill hat, currently at the convenience store on the east gate of Huangshe Road. Be sure not to startle the snake by hitting the grass. When waiting for the target to trade, conduct a comprehensive arrest. The words fell. The entire Huangshe commercial street was lined with several plainclothes police officers walking towards the location of the convenience store that Ming had mentioned. They are all using various methods to conceal themselves, in order to avoid startling the snake and causing a missed catch. At this moment, on the fruit stall, there is still a special feeling in Ming's mind that continues, and the criminal's perception skills are constantly triggered. At the same time, under the ability to discern every detail, Ming observed the situation in the convenience store with great clarity. I don't know why. He always has a sense of familiarity with the skinny shop assistant who just handed out cigarettes to the criminals. But I never knew under what circumstances did you meet this shop assistant. Just as Ming was pondering incessantly. Hey, little brother, are you buying fruits or not? You keep picking and choosing, aren't you satisfied with so many good fruits? The owner of the fruit stall couldn't help but ask loudly when he saw Ming constantly selecting fruits but never putting them in the bag. Ming awkwardly twitched the corners of his mouth. Just as he was about to buy 2 fruits casually, Yu Guangzhong's man with a duck-tongue cap walked out of the convenience store. No need, I feel like your fruit is really great. I should leave the opportunity to buy it to others. After speaking, the stall owner looked at Ming in great surprise and rubbed his head inexplicably. And Ming continued to hold the iron plate squid, following behind the man with a duckbill cap, occasionally glancing at the nearby stalls to conceal his identity. Not just Ming. The colleagues who were hiding in the crowd were also following behind the man with the duckbill cap. Even Yang Yun took a detour and came specifically to the vicinity of the man in the duckbill cap, in order to catch him without fail. The reason for not immediately arresting. It is also to expose more accomplices and combat crime as much as possible. The crowd around was crowded, and the noise was boisterous. The man with a duckbill cap didn't even notice being followed and continued to walk forward with his hands in his pockets, but judging from his hurried pace, there is clearly something extremely urgent waiting to be dealt with in a timely manner. As the man with a duck-tongue cap gradually steps out of the commercial street, all the plainclothes personnel who followed frowned slightly, and some were unsure whether to arrest them. As the person in charge of this action, Yang Yun watched as the man with a duckbill cap was about to leave the commercial street, then stopped and spoke softly on his earphone. The other party may have already woken up. Don't wait any longer. As soon as you step out of the woods, pick the fruit to avoid any accidents. Especially Ming, be careful not to get scratched by the branches. As soon as this sentence is spoken, Ming also became slightly tense, and as the person closest to the criminal, he naturally had to take on the primary task of arrest. Although only a newly graduated police academy student. However, as long as it is in the task, it should be done when it is necessary, and it cannot be said that it is not possible. It is meaningless to continue waiting. Ming also quickened his pace and gradually approached the back of the man with a duckbill cap, only 2 steps away, ensuring that he could take the initiative. Just as the man in the duckbill hat walked out of the commercial street and there were not many people around, Yang Yun suddenly burst out loud and shouted loudly, "Hands on!" Chapter 4. Discovering A.Level Fugitives. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The words fell. All the people hidden around rushed towards the man with a duckbill cap in an instant. The man with a duckbill cap quickly turned his head. Just as he was about to take out the controlled cutting tool, his feet were already clamped by Ming, and he forcefully flipped and fell to the ground. Cigarettes and controlled knives fell to the ground. There was no response from the man with the duckbill cap at all. Ming directly kicked out the controlled knife that the man had dropped to the ground, kicking it dozens of meters away. At the same time, the knee was heavily pressed against the back of the man with a duckbill cap, locking his right hand behind his back in a strange twisted shape. This is an extremely orthodox method of arrest, and it is also a key measure taught in police academies to arrest criminals. Under the power of Ming, the man with a duckbill cap had no resistance at all and screamed in pain. "What are you doing? What are you doing in front of so many people?" Ming controlled the man with the duckbill cap with one hand, and took out the police officer's certificate from his pocket with the other hand. "I am a police officer from the Huaihai Criminal Investigation Brigade. I suspect you are engaged in a trade in prohibited items and will arrest you in accordance with the laws of Dragon Country." The words fell. Yang Yun quickly stepped forward and took out handcuffs in his hand. Click. As the handcuffs were firmly fastened, the man with a duckbill cap's face suddenly turned pale, and even his struggle was reduced by a few points. Yang Yun lifted the man with a duck-tongue cap and looked at Ming, extending his thumb in admiration. "Sure, Ming. I just captured that hand, and it's much more proficient than most people in our team. Say this sentence." Without hesitation, Yang Yun began to grope on the man with a duckbill cap and spoke with some meaning. "Since we have caught you, there's no need to explain anything more. I must have full confidence to arrest you directly in front of so many people. Instead of continuing to persevere, it's better to reveal where your accomplice is and get a chance to make a name for themselves." After a few seconds, Yang Yun furrowed his brow slightly and asked the man coldly, "Where's the thing?" The man with a duckbill hat seemed to have regained his senses and quickly shook his head, answering, "What kind of thing is it?" "Officer, you really got the wrong person. I really don't know what you're talking about. If we just casually arrest people like this, it really wouldn't be too." Not waiting for the man with the duckbill cap to finish speaking, Yang Yun interrupted his words and roared loudly, "What do I ask you when I step on a horse? Don't talk to me about what you have or don't have." The man with a duckbill hat took 2 steps back in a row, instinctively stepping on the cigarette and choking his neck in a hard voice. Police officer, I really don't know what you're talking about. I just came here to take a stroll, but who knew you suddenly caught me? Yang Yun exhaled a murky breath and pointed to the controlled knife on the ground, coldly speaking. Shopping. Do you bring this kind of thing to go shopping? The man with a duck-tongue cap suddenly felt a bit dry and wanted to refute something, but didn't know how to speak up. Ming, who had been standing beside him all along, glanced at him with a keen insight and unexpectedly noticed the man with a duck-tongue hat deliberately stepped on the cigarette box, and several cigarettes had already exploded. And in tobacco. Surprisingly, it is mixed with a little white powder, and even 1/3 of a cigarette is white powder. These white powders. It must be the prohibited items they are pursuing. As for why I didn't see this man with a duckbill cap selling prohibited items, it was because he was arrested before he could unload the goods. And the real big fish. It's the clerk who just sold cigarettes at a convenience store. As for why I feel familiar with that salesperson. This is because if the changed hairstyle is removed, the shop assistant is completely an A-level fugitive being pursued. Due to being at the police academy. I have seen released photos of fugitives before, which is why I feel familiar with them. And the reason why criminal perception flickers non-stop. It is also because there is a real big fish hidden in that convenience store. The sound of arrest is so loud now. That shop assistant must have started to flee, and if we don't hurry, we may miss the best opportunity to catch him. At this moment. Yang Yun also noticed the cigarette at the end of Ming's perspective, pressed down the head of the man with a duckbill cap, and asked coldly. Tell me. What's inside here? Yang Yun's words have just finished. Ming suddenly ran towards the commercial street, sprinting towards the convenience store at a speed of 100 meters. Seeing this scene. Yang Yun quickly pressed the earphone beside his ear and asked sternly. Ming, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly leave the team like this? Ming running. Quickly pressing against his ear, he quickly responded. Report to Team Yang. I found an A-level key fugitive right at the convenience store just now. P.S. On the first day at 10 o'clock, seeking data, seeking flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets, comments, kneeling down for everything. Chapter 5. Arrest is the beginning, pursuit. You are listening at novel full.audio. Hear the sound coming from the earphone. Yang Yun suddenly widened his eyes and quickly commanded to speak. Leave 2 people watching him and quickly have the police officers observe the road surveillance in real time. Others quickly follow me, there may be a big fish appearing. There was no hesitation at all. Several people immediately reacted to the orders given by Yang Yun. The 2 people closest to the man in the duckbill cap stayed behind, while the others all followed Yang Yun forward. While running, Yang Yun didn't forget to press the earphone to continue directing. Ming, you need to pay attention to safety. Those A-level fugitives are all fugitives, indicating that they may be hiding something. At this moment, Ming, who had improved his physique, ran towards the convenience store at a sprint speed of 100 meters. There is simply no time to pay attention to Yang Yun's words. After all, if the A-level fugitive who sells prohibited items were to run away, it may not be so easy to see you again in the future. The crowded flow of people around. Seeing Ming's cold expression and relentless running, he couldn't help but scatter a path. At the same time, tourists and vendors around have already started to discuss. What is this for? Running in such a hurry, did someone steal their phone? This little guy runs really fast, and his cold gaze is full of masculinity. It seems like something big happened. I just arrived here and saw someone caught at the intersection. It seems like a murderer, right? Is it so exaggerated? Is this running guy an accomplice or just plain clothes? Don't worry, this young man has been righteous all his life. He definitely wouldn't be the kind of person who would do evil. amidst the discussions of the people beside me. Ming ran as fast as possible to the convenience store just now, with intense skin on his chest and a burning sensation in his lungs. Even if physical fitness improves. Despite sprinting hundreds of meters with all his might in such an emergency, Ming still felt extremely exhausted. Speed into the store. Upon discovering that the cashier at the convenience store had already changed, Ming quickly approached without any hesitation and raised his police ID card, quickly speaking up. "I am a police officer. Where did the shop assistant, who was about 25 years old, 180 tall, and thin in stature, go just now?" The salesperson, who had never seen such a formation before, was stunned for a moment before meeting and answering. "Are you talking about Xiaozhang? Just now he suddenly said he had an urgent matter to go home, and before I could agree. Ming slammed onto the cashier and stared into the clerk's eyes, interrupting his words coldly. "Which direction did you go?" "Okay, it seems to be on the left, right." "I didn't see it very clearly either, but he usually walks to the left." The salesperson was clearly slightly frightened and stuttered as he answered Ming's question. "Take a deep breath." Ming walked out of the convenience store while leaving a sentence. "Stay in the store and don't move around. You may need to cooperate later. The matter is very serious, don't play any tricks on me." The words fell. Ming arrived at the intersection next to the convenience store, carefully imagining the possible route that the criminal might take. Due to the prosperity of Huangshi Commercial Street. In order to alleviate traffic congestion, intersections have also been specially set up next to convenience stores. Except for the path they took to capture the man in the duckbill cap, the other three could have become the escape route for the A-level criminal. As for the left side mentioned by the salesperson, clearly questionable. Because it cannot be completely determined, it means that the authenticity is less than half, and it may be false information. After all, in the same convenience store, it is inevitable that false messages may be perceived due to personal reasons. I cannot believe everything. But currently there are still 3 paths left, right, front. We need to speculate on the most likely route to pursue, otherwise everything will be in vain. The scorching heat in his lungs and tense thoughts made it impossible for Ming to immerse himself in the criminal's psyche. Just as Ming was about to choose 1 out of 3 and make a bet, a warning sound suddenly sounded in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully capturing the first culprit. They have acquired skills such as absolute calmness, psychological inference, and improved intelligence and physical fitness by 10 points each. Note: absolute calmness can ensure the host's calmest thinking and psychological inference in any state, allowing the host to make successful inferences with a criminal mentality. The system's prompt sound ends. Ming suddenly felt that his previously complex and tense thoughts had calmed down in an instant. Absolute calmness has come into play. And in the next moment, Ming didn't hesitate at all. With a slight squint in his eyes, he used his psychological inference skills and began to think incessantly about the A-level criminal in his mind. This A-level criminal who has been on the run for a long time has reached an extremely terrifying level for investigation and counter-investigation. Even changing hairstyles and using the mindset of dark under the lights, dressing up as shop assistants and selling prohibited items directly in the busiest Huangshi commercial street. This kind of criminal's words. After hearing others talk about the recent arrest operation, they will inevitably flee here as soon as possible. And it will definitely be done in the most covert way. The road ahead belongs to the main road, with many vehicles passing by and cameras scattered throughout the road, which clearly does not meet the choice of this criminal. At present, there are still 2 roads left and right. The road on the left leads to Huangpu Avenue, and behind it is a residential area. If you infiltrate residential areas, you may be able to escape for a while, and in the end, you will definitely be traced in detail. And this A-level criminal can definitely imagine I will interrogate the convenience store staff to get a rough idea of the situation in case of panic. The salesperson will definitely express their previous preconceived impressions. In this situation, this A-level criminal is absolutely impossible to run to the left. And on the right is Qianjiang Avenue. There is a passenger station not far away. There are often anonymous passenger vehicles and black cars parked, which can completely help him escape from this area. After all, as a drug addict who sells prohibited items, my physical strength is definitely not much better, so I have to use transportation to escape this place. And after being discovered this time, this A-level criminal is absolutely impossible to continue staying here. This brings into the criminal's psyche. The road on the right has already become the last choice. Think of it here. Su Ming suddenly opened his eyes and strode towards the direction of Qianjiang Avenue on the right. Arrest. Starting from now on. P.S. There are so few collections, so the author should seek data. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation votes, seeking comments. Can readers with monthly and review tickets vote for it? Kneel down. Chapter 6. Life and Death Escape, Expropriation of Heavy Locomotives. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. While Su Ming was running to pursue the fugitive, Yang Yun and his group also arrived at the convenience store, looking at the frightened and trembling staff. Yang Yun had a cold expression on his face, took out his police officer certificate, and stepped forward to confront him. Police. Did a young man come to you just now to inquire about something? The shop assistant felt a little numb all over, leaning against the cash register, supporting his body, and quickly replied. Yes, there is. But just after asking me something, I immediately ran out. I don't know what happened either. Yang Yun quickly asked. What did he ask you? How did you answer? The shop assistant shrunk his neck and stuttered nervously. He asked Xiao Zhang where he had gone, and then I told him. He should have gone to the left. Yang Yun clenched his fist tightly. Years of criminal police literacy have kept him surprisingly calm, and he immediately commanded the team members beside him. "De, please control him and check the store's surveillance to see which big fish it is. Others continue to follow me in pursuit. Say it." Yang Yun didn't hesitate at all and walked quickly towards the door, but his heart was worried about Su Ming. As a newcomer to the police academy, and also the child of one's own master, if something goes wrong, Yang Yun will never forgive himself in his lifetime. Think of it here. Yang Yun pressed his earphone again and spoke extremely seriously. Xiao Ming, report the current position of the speed report and stop the pursuit. We old folks are still here, it's not your turn to charge forward. Did you hear me? This is an order. 3 seconds later, Su Ming's calm voice came from the earphone. Brother Yang, don't worry. I am currently pursuing this A-level criminal in the direction of Qianjiang Avenue. I now request that all passenger vehicles in the direction of Qianjiang be temporarily suspended for half an hour. At the same time, block the exit checkpoint of Qianjiang Avenue to prevent this A-level criminal from escaping our jurisdiction. I heard Su Ming speak so clearly. Yang Yun's original concern was slightly reduced by a few points, while responding. Understood, I will contact the ground crew immediately. Remember to pay attention to safety. After speaking these words, Yang Yun waved his hand and directed towards the team member beside him. Leave one person behind and notify the ground crew to block Qianjiang Avenue and temporarily stop passenger vehicles. Within this half hour. Don't even think of a fly flying out of me. Qianjiang Avenue. Su Ming adjusted his breathing and continued to pursue at an extremely fast pace. After the reward from the system just now, Su Ming can clearly feel that his physical fitness has once again improved to a higher level, and he always maintains a clear mind. Next to the elevated bridge ahead. It is the passenger transportation center of Qianjiang Avenue, where illegal passengers and black cars are everywhere. And at a distance of 200 meters. Through the special ability of insight into Chiuhao, Su Ming was able to clearly see there is a man wearing convenience store clothing. He is constantly running forward and occasionally turning his head to look back. Seeing Su Ming in sight, the fugitive man completely disregarded his lungs that were about to explode and continued to stride towards the passenger vehicle ahead. As an A-level fugitive, he is very clear that once arrested and brought to justice, he will be waiting for a peanut. At this moment, Su Ming's gaze had completely locked on the fugitive, and he was gradually accelerating his running pace. Surrounding pedestrians. Seeing this situation, I was also extremely knowledgeable and hid to the side. Distance between two people. Getting closer step by step, visible to the naked eye. 200 meters. 180 meters. 150 meters. 120 meters. When there is only 100 meters left, the wanted criminal has already arrived next to the passenger station. But what he couldn't believe was all passenger vehicles and private black cars have their doors tightly closed, clearly receiving news. Otherwise, it is impossible for even the black car to be tightly closed. The criminal turned to look at Su Ming, who was getting closer and closer, and angrily kicked the door of the passenger vehicle. Then he pulled out a diamond-shaped military spear directly from his waist and suddenly stabbed it towards the black car driver's window next to him, roaring angrily. "Get out! Step on your horse and get out of here!" The driver in the black car was already terrified and didn't know what to do for a moment. And this A-level criminal has now reached the end. He was extremely insane, constantly stabbing the car window with a weapon in his hand. Due to the splashing glass debris, his right hand was constantly dripping with blood. The car window is about to be completely shattered. The black car driver quickly climbed up to the co-pilot and stumbled away to the side. The criminal completely ignored the black car driver and instead pierced through the glass, grabbed the edge of the car, and jumped into the driver's cabin. Despite being covered in wounds cut out by glass. Under the action of adrenaline, the criminal did not feel any pain. Sitting in the cab, looking at Su Ming approaching in the rearview mirror, the criminal showed a fierce smile on his face, directly ignited the ignition and stepped on the accelerator, starting the car and driving towards the front. And at the moment before the car starts, even extending a middle finger from the broken car window, it seemed to be provoking. At this point, Su Ming looked at the vehicles driving away in the distance, his eyes filled with coldness, and he carefully observed the surroundings. By insightful insight, discovered a heavy motorcycle not far away. And due to panic, the car owner didn't even have time to remove the key, so Su Ming quickly pressed the earphone. Young team, currently the fugitive has seized the vehicle and is heading towards the elevated bridge on Qianjiang Avenue. I have requisitioned a heavy motorcycle here to continue pursuing criminals. P.S. Find the data. The author will write the most exciting plot as a reward. Chapter 7. High-altitude pursuit, no escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Release the earphone. Without any hesitation, Su Ming stepped onto the heavy motorcycle next to him. In the case of special tasks, the pursuers have the right to expropriate the personal property of the public, but must make up for it 100% afterwards. This is a key issue that those teachers in the police academy are discussing. Although the final level has been set with interception spikes, all vehicles are unable to pass. But to avoid other accidents. As for the vicious incident of forcibly crossing the border, Su Ming planned to catch up with the fugitive and cut him off as much as possible. However, in order to catch up on a heavy motorcycle, one must use extremely excellent driving skills. Although in the police academy, Su Ming has already passed the motorcycle driver's license exam, but it is only the most basic driving skills. It is clearly not enough to catch up with the current full-speed cars. Take a deep breath. Su Ming looked at the car speeding in the distance and immediately opened the personal attributes interface. Divine Level Police System Host. Su Ming Age. 23 Intelligence. 130 Physical Fitness. 170 Justice Value. 1100 Exclusive Skills. Insight into Details, Criminal Perception, Unarmed Combat, Absolute Calmness, Psychological Inference System All. Open Note. Capturing the first criminal will receive a special reward of 1000 justice points. Subsequent arrests will reward different justice points based on the level and severity of the criminal, and justice points can purchase all items in the system mall. Su Ming did not hesitate at all. Open the system mall directly and click on the item bar for redeeming personal skills, land driving, and motorcycle skills. Ding! Congratulations to the host for using 1000 justice points to exchange for motorcycle driving skills. As the system prompts, the sound will come on. Holding the handle of the heavy motorcycle in front of him, Su Ming was already extremely proficient in igniting, oiling, and shifting gears. Lower your body, fold up your support legs, tighten the throttle, and charge forward like an arrow from a string. Locomotive driving skills. Su Ming already possesses the driving ability of a professional motorcycle driver. And this professionally modified heavy-duty locomotive has extremely excellent power, catching up with criminals is only a matter of time. At this moment, the roar of heavy locomotives echoed throughout the entire elevated bridge. All car owners who received a temporary notice and stopped in place were staring and discussing incessantly. I'm going to Nyopi. Is this the real version of Speed and Passion? I just received a ban notice and saw plainclothes chasing criminals. It's really exciting. Speaking of which, this guy riding a heavy motorcycle is really a bit handsome. That kind of determined gaze is really not something that ordinary people have. Not only is it handsome, but with that professional hunching posture, I doubt if it's a specially recruited person. Otherwise, how could they ride motorcycles so professionally? It's a bit scary. I didn't expect us to catch up with this kind of 1000-mile chase, and I don't know what that person did. I think it's better not to discuss it and be careful not to get stabbed. Don't be too afraid, with our police officers guarding, there won't be any major problems, and I estimate that the previous levels must have set up interception nails. That motorcycle turned out to be Kawasaki H2. I didn't expect to use this kind of car for pursuit. That sedan must not be able to run away. When everyone is constantly discussing. Even worse. Posting this image on various online communication platforms suddenly caused a considerable sensation. And at this moment, Su Ming is completely professional in pursuit, turning the throttle of the Kawasaki H2 to the bottom. In his line of sight, the car driven by the fugitive has reappeared. At the same time, in the rearview mirror of the car, the fugitive had already seen Su Ming rushing towards him. Staring wide-eyed with an incredulous expression, he stepped on the gas pedal with all his might, continuously hammering the steering wheel and angrily cursing. Damn it! Hurry up, give labor and management more quickly. Despite constant insults. However, Su Ming continued to approach, and his cold eyes made the fugitive's heart tremble even more. 200 meters. 150 meters. 100 meters. 50 meters. The distance continues to shrink at a speed visible to the naked eye. There is still half the way to the level of Qianjiang Avenue Viaduct. When there is only about 20 meters left. Su Ming let out a cold snort and slightly shifted the car, exerting his driving skills to the extreme, and then turned the throttle back to the lowest position. Insight into the details. Every detail of the road has been clearly displayed in Su Ming's eyes. Absolutely calm. Despite such a dangerous situation, Su Ming remained incredibly professional and calm. The next moment, Su Ming completely lowered his body on the heavy plane and suddenly collided with the rear wheel of the sedan. Bang! The car suddenly shifted sideways, causing the criminal who didn't have time to fasten his seatbelt to sway non-stop in the car. As adrenaline subsides. Physical pain. At this moment it was also incredibly clear that the foot stepping on the accelerator had instinctively loosened. And the heavy aircraft driven by Su Ming. Under such a rapid impact, the front wheels also began to sway in death. But the Kawasaki H2 has excellent stability, and under the control of Su Ming's motorcycle driving skills, it only takes 5 seconds to stabilize the locomotive. Staring at the noticeably deviated sedan, he bent down again and collided fiercely with its rear wheels. Bang! The impact this time was even more intense. The car suddenly collided with the elevated guardrail and was forced to stop under tremendous friction. At this moment, this A.level criminal is already there is no escape. P.S. Is there any problem with the author's writing? I feel like I don't have much collection and data, so I'm kneeling down to ask for data. Chapter 8. Successful arrest, causing a sensation among the crowd. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. On Qianjiang Avenue. Yang Yun, sitting in the co-pilot seat, stuffed bullets into his pistol one by one. For A.level fugitives. If it is absolutely necessary and poses a threat to personal safety, it can be directly executed. And the 2 team members who just stayed at the convenience store. After seeing the clear surveillance footage, the identity of this fugitive has been determined. As Su Ming said, he is an A.level criminal who has absconded and committed the crime of trafficking prohibited items. The large quantity sold. It is completely enough for this criminal to be executed more than 10 times. The police officer in the same car noticed that the distant roar had disappeared and asked with a slight frown. Young team, the sound of the locomotives has all disappeared. Xiaoming shouldn't have any problems, should he? This is really worrying. Yang Yun stuffed his pistol around his waist, took a deep breath, and spoke softly. There should be no problem. I took a look at Xiaoming and he's a police officer. He's not much worse than his father. However, this personality is indeed a bit impatient, but after all, it's good for young people to have a bit of momentum, and it will gradually improve later on. I hope Xiaoming. Not waiting for Yang Yun to finish speaking. In the earphones of everyone involved in this operation, Su Ming's slightly excited voice rang out. Yang, I have successfully stopped the criminal and currently plan to conduct a formal arrest. At this moment, everyone sitting in the car. They were all stunned for a second, looking at each other and unsure of what to say. Forcing a fugitive to stop. This is simply something unbelievable. Actually, it's not just all the team members involved in the arrest. All the people on the elevated bridge. Anyone who sees Xia Ming driving the Kawasaki H2 car with their own eyes wide open, showing an extremely shocked expression. At that speed. It is truly shocking to be able to rely on such subtle control to forcefully stop a speeding car. Oh my God, isn't this really a special effect? Why can we use a motorcycle to force a car to stop, and at such a fast speed? It's too outrageous, isn't it? Art originates from life. For the first time, I felt the speed and passion, but in fact, the shots were a bit conservative. I don't know what this person has committed, but they are being pursued like this. It's estimated that, after entering, they will inevitably have a peanut. I suddenly felt. These police officers were really walking on the tip of the knife. It was really dangerous just now. If that guy didn't control the death swing, there would definitely be a problem. Thinking of a sentence, why can't we see the darkness? It's precisely because there is such a group of people who block the darkness from us during our lifetime. Amidst the discussion among the crowd, Su Ming also controlled the locomotive to slowly stop. Looking at the car emitting black smoke several meters away, a faint smile appeared on his face, and he released his finger pressed on the earphone. Pull out the police electric shock gun from your waist, take a deep breath, and tighten your muscles to be ready to attack at any time. Facing criminals. No matter when or where, one cannot be in a relaxed state. This is in the police academy. The most important sentence. For such desperados, Su Ming didn't even bother to say more about persuading them to surrender. Step forward slowly. Just when Su Ming was only 1 meter away from the car, the criminal with a face full of blood, holding a diamond-shaped military spear, pushed open the passenger door and fiercely stabbed at Su Ming, shouting angrily. "Even if I step on a horse and die, I will take you to die together." Although his expression was fierce, but from the incredibly elusive footsteps, it is clear that this criminal who has been smoking prohibited substances for years is at the end of his life. Su Ming snorted coldly. Under the skill of insightful insight, the military spikes stabbed by criminals are like slow-motion playback without any danger. Side up. Move. Extremely agile in evading the criminal's thrusts, the police electric gun in hand pressed directly against the criminal's waist. Peepa peepa. As several arcs flicker. This A.level criminal has fallen to the ground with limp legs and dull eyes, clearly entering a coma. Su Ming quickly kicked the army spikes on the ground to the side, relieving the final threat. Due to not wearing handcuffs that affect movement. Therefore, take out the zip ties that you carry with you and tie the criminal's hands behind you. Actually, compared to handcuffs. At present, the vast majority of police officers prefer the use of zip ties as a simple and convenient restraint tool. After thoroughly subduing this A-level criminal, Su Ming pressed the earphone in his ear again and spoke slowly. "Yang, I have already controlled the criminal. However, the scene here is a bit messy, and we may need to find a trailer to handle it." The words have just finished. A warning sound echoed in Su Ming's mind once again. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully capturing the A.level fugitive. Reward skill, flying over the eaves and walls, reward 1,000 justice points, and increase intelligence and physical fitness by 10 points respectively. Ding, release the first police mission. Solving a murder case. P.S. Kneeling for data, woo-woo. Chapter 9. Joining the criminal investigation team. You are listening at novel full.audio. Hear the system prompt sound. A faint smile appeared on Su Ming's face, and he couldn't help but take a breath. And the newly acquired skill of flying eaves and walls is extremely important. After all, as a criminal police officer, running to arrest these criminals is basically a common occurrence. With the skill of flying eaves and walls, naturally, I can also relax a bit and not be too passive like this time. Without any hesitation. While Yang Yun was still on his way, Su Ming also clicked again to open his personal virtual interface. Divine Level Police System Host. Su Ming age. 23 intelligence. 140 physical fitness. 180 justice value. 1100 exclusive skills. Insight into autumn hair, criminal perception, unarmed combat, absolute calmness, psychological inference, motorcycle driving, and climbing over roofs and walls system.On. Open note. The police task is an extremely important task, and after the host completes the police task, their strength and experience in all aspects will be rapidly improved. Police mission. See this special word. Su Ming was also constantly pondering in his heart, considering how to solve the murder case and complete the task. Just as Su Ming was constantly pondering, the criminal who was originally electrocuted and unconscious also slowly woke up. Just woke up. Just struggle with force. But his back was held up by Su Ming's knees, and his hands were tied with straps, making it impossible for this A.level criminal to make any other movements besides struggling. Feeling the criminal waking up, Su Ming showed no sympathy or mercy, but instead pressed harder against the back of the criminal and said coldly, "Be honest. Do you still want to escape when I catch you? Although it is the judge's business to try you. But if you move around a little more, I'll let you taste the taste of an electric gun again." As soon as this sentence is spoken, The struggling criminal's eyes had completely dimmed, as if he had already thought of his final performance. Decades later. As the alarm bell echoed from afar. From Su Ming's line of sight, several cars could already be seen speeding towards him from afar. Turn off the engine. Parking. Even before the car was stable, Yang Yun pushed open the passenger door and strode towards Su Ming. Looking at the vehicles emitting black smoke in the distance. Yang Yun's temple kept jumping lightly, and he even quickened his pace, as if he could already imagine the previous danger. Seeing Yang Yun approaching, Su Ming also picked up the criminal and brought him in front of Yang Yun, saying with a hint of excitement. Yang, I just confirmed again and again. He should be the fugitive who sold a large amount of prohibited items in southern Xinjiang 2 years ago, but unexpectedly came to the Magic City. If we continue to follow the clues, we may catch a batch of big fish. Upon hearing these words, Yang Yun did not immediately take over the conversation, but carefully looked at Su Ming and asked in a slow, concerned voice. Did you get hurt? Su Ming shook his head and responded with a smile. No. I'm just running a bit panting. Yang Yun breathed a sigh of relief and stepped forward to pat Su Ming's shoulder, then turned his head to look at the crowd. Come on, don't procrastinate. Take this criminal to the brigade, give a brief treatment to the wound, and then conduct a surprise interrogation tonight. If we can catch some drug traffickers, we estimate that we can achieve the target for the whole year this year. At the same time, call the trailer to come quickly, handle the scene, restore traffic, and don't continue to be stuck like this. As for the owners of cars and motorcycles, let them go to the traffic police brigade to collect them. All necessary compensation should be implemented immediately. A few sentences. After the entire event is fully explained. Yang Yun also looked at Su Ming again and exclaimed with great admiration. You have such a personality, you really look a bit like your old man. But next time we can't be so reckless. No matter what the problem is, as long as we old men are here, it's not your turn to charge ahead. Speaking of which. Young Team stepped forward again and patted Su Ming's shoulder, continuing. Okay. Let's go back to the brigade together first. I'll leave this to someone else to handle. Although we successfully caught the criminal this time, we'll probably have to be scolded by the Lin team a few times. But the credit for catching this A-level fugitive will definitely be credited to you. The next morning. In the office of the director of the Criminal Investigation Brigade. Su Ming stood quietly next to him, waiting for further processing. Lynch looked at Su Ming, who was slightly green in front of him, and sighed. I just received a message. The A-level criminal confessed a large number of personnel, which is estimated to be able to eliminate many criminals in our city who sell prohibited substances for smoking. Xiao Ming, your courage yesterday really caught my eye, and when I checked the surveillance later on, it made me sweat a lot. Although you have disobeyed commands before, your contribution is greater. We reward you based on your achievements, so I also want to ask you, what kind of reward do you want? Special leave or what? At this moment, standing across from Su Ming, he heard Lynch's words. After 2 seconds of silence, slightly clenching his fist, he spoke with unwavering eyes. Lin team, I don't need any rewards. I just want to. If there is a homicide case next time, please let me join the task force to view the first scene. P.S. Kneeling for data, the author cannot persist anymore. Chapter 10. The female corpse in the river without clothes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning. In the Huaihai Criminal Investigation Brigade. Due to no special tasks today. Therefore, Su Ming was sitting in the office carefully browsing through the various unsolved case files of the previous Magic City. Although technology has advanced, there are clearly fewer types of unsolved cases, but there are still some cases with insufficient clues that cannot be solved. Police officers who have just joined the Criminal Investigation Brigade throughout history. In addition to familiarizing oneself with various precautions, the most crucial thing is to browse through these unsolved case files. Because these unresolved cases have no results. But every detail is filled with the experience of predecessors, which can maximize the efficiency of investigation. A female police officer in her 30s responsible for Sky Eye surveillance walked over to Su Ming with a cup of tea in her hand. Watching Su Ming keep flipping through the files in front of him, he took a light sip of the tea ceremony. Xiao Ming, are you watching the dismemberment case at Moda University? Su Ming, who is analyzing carefully. Glancing at the female police officer beside her, a warm faint smile appeared on her face. Good morning, Sister Xia. Because the dismemberment case at the University of Magic is too cruel. It also caused a sensation at the time, so I took this opportunity to carefully examine the files at that time and see if I could find anything. Xia Yu nodded lightly, took another sip of tea, and sighed. It's really too cruel. A female college student in her prime was dismembered into 300 pieces and even cooked and thrown away in various places. Such a heinous criminal case is rare in the entire Dragon Kingdom. The Lin team had been exposed to this case before, but in the end, they were unable to determine the suspect, which has always been a concern for him. Su Ming nodded lightly, just as he was about to respond. Yang Yun pushed open the door as usual and shouted at Su Ming. Xiao Ming, here comes the task. Someone found a female corpse in the Qingshui River in the suburbs. Let's go take a look together now. Hear this sentence. Su Ming's eyes lit up instantly and he quickly turned to respond. Here we go, Brother Yang. Immediately looking at Xia Yu beside her, just as she was about to speak, Xia Yu waved her hand and urged with a smile on her face. All right, hurry up and get to the task. If there is any place that needs to be monitored, just call me directly. Su Ming no longer hesitated. Quickly picked up the police uniform placed next to the seat, and didn't even have time to close the file, walking towards the parking lot. No matter when or where. Su Ming has always maintained great enthusiasm for cracking down on criminals and solving cases. Get in the police car. Yang Yun was already in the driver's seat. After turning on the siren, he glanced at Su Ming through the rearview mirror and said slowly. Compared to yesterday. Today is the real work of our criminal investigation team, investigating various large-scale malignant cases. Due to the urgency of the matter, let me briefly explain this police situation now. Just 20 minutes ago, a young man fishing in the Qingshui River accidentally discovered a female corpse in the middle of the river and immediately reported it to the police. I just called the rescue team to retrieve the body, but according to the news just now, it seems a bit strange. Yang Yun paused for 2 seconds and continued by lightly tapping the steering wheel with his fingers. The female corpse was actually without any clothes on her body, and her clothes were found 100 meters downstream of the corpse. Xiao Ming, you should know what this represents, right? Speaking of which. Yang Yun also turned his head to look at Su Ming, quietly waiting for his answer. Due to Su Ming's special identity. Yang Yun also tried his best to train Su Ming, hoping to pass on all the experiences that Su Ming's father had taught him to him. At this moment. Upon hearing Yang Yun's inquiry. Su Ming pondered for 2 seconds, rubbed his fingers, and answered slowly. The fact that the body was not wearing any clothing has directly ruled out the possibility of accidental drowning and death. After all, as a woman, it is absolutely unreasonable to walk by the river without taking off your clothes. So currently, there are only 2 possibilities. Suicide or homicide. The specific situation still needs to be carefully analyzed on .site. However, as long as accidental death is excluded, it is already within our jurisdiction. Because even if it's really suicide, we also need to find a detailed motive, conduct a comprehensive analysis and consideration, rule out the possibility of homicide, and never miss any one. Criminals. P.S. It's difficult to solve the case and there is no recommendation. So the author is seeking flowers, feedback, and comments to increase exposure.